Hey everyone, it's me, Shannon Joy, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show, broadcast live from Facebook Live, from the Christmas bunker and the comfy chair. I am Shannon Joy, joining you today again at noon. We're also broadcast from theshannonjoy.com, also on WKAL Utica, Rome, our lone affiliate. But I promise you that's only for now. We are working diligently on that new flagship station, and I think you guys are going to be pleasantly surprised come, I don't know, New Year's Eve, in and about New Year's Eve, where hopefully we will be launching the Shannon Joy Show from our new affiliate. Everything is chugging right along, guys. I'm super optimistic, somewhat exhausted, but that's okay. This is a marathon, not a sprint. And I want you guys to know that we are doing everything we can to get the show up and running, moving all the advertisers over, the Joy Media advertisers, and it's all really exciting. I want to thank everyone who is popping on right now. You guys are just joining the feed. For my listeners in Utica on WKAL, if this broadcast sounds a little bit different than my normal broadcast, it's because we are, for now, broadcasting from my dining room. It is the Christmas bunker and on Facebook Live, so it sounds a little different. I want to thank everyone who is joining. If you guys could go ahead right now and share this broadcast to everyone and anyone you know right here on Facebook Live, your groups, your friends, your family. This is how we get the views up. Likes are so important, comments, all of that goes into the Facebook algorithm and helps us to promote this broadcast so that we can retain but also grow this audience in these very troubling times, these very difficult times politically that we are facing as a nation, as we are watching those of us who are within the conservative movement or the liberty movement day after day after day of betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. It's a stocking full of betrayals from President Trump and the GOP. I posted out yesterday that we are going to need a new version of the 12 days of Christmas, and we're going to have to retrofit that, the 12 days of betrayals, because every day I want to come to you and say that there is some kind of good news. And unfortunately, I have to be the bearer of the bad news, the messenger. And it's not a position that I enjoy, and it's one that often gets me in trouble with the establishment party, the GOP, and also many within the conservative movement. But I assure all of you that I'll continue to tell the truth. I want to take a moment to thank everyone and welcome those of you who are joining. Christian Chamberlain is with us. Conrad Allen has joined us. Cliff Kelly is with us. I love you, Cliff. I'm so glad that you're here today on the program. Ellen Lyon has joined us. Ellen, I haven't seen you on the feed before. Welcome to the program. At the Shannon Joy Show, we try every day to inform you and engage you in politics, the things that are happening in Washington, D.C., also outside of Washington, D.C., that affect your life, that affect your family, your healthcare, your education, the amount of money that you're able to retain in your paycheck, right? All of these things are crucial to the lives of everyday Americans. They're very personal. And the things that happen on Capitol Hill, the bills that are passed, are very personal because they affect you. And so every day I endeavor to give you as much good, honest, truthful information about politics. I try to make it engaging and informative and entertaining and understandable, because many people, I think many Americans today, feel a sense of information overload, right? There are so many bills, there are so many different talking points. The news cycle moves at a breakneck pace. You can hardly consume and digest one piece of legislation before they move forward with another piece of legislation. And that legislation is virtually impossible to read by the average American. And so the mission of my program is to make politics understandable, to empower you and equip you with good information about everything that affects your life, whether it's domestic policy or foreign policy or defense. You know, we address every issue. I'm not a one issue kind of gal. We look at education, we look at healthcare, we look at the economy, budgets and spendings and deficits, and all of these different entities. We put it all together, and I try to make it understandable so that one day when you're ready, when you feel like it's time for you to engage in politics, you will be ready to go. I know that a lot of you who are on this feed today are activists. You are politically engaged, but a lot of you are not. You feel as if you don't know enough, or you're not even really sure what you believe at this point. And you certainly don't believe that you can engage with either political party because they both seem so corrupt. And so I hope to give you guys the courage and information to one day, when you are ready, when your life is in order and you feel like it's time for you to engage, whether it's at the local level, the state level, maybe it's homeschooling your kids or boning up on your Constitution. Every American can engage in politics, and we need as many as we can find. The liberty movement and this conservative movement, we don't have a home within the mainstream conservative movement, and certainly not within the two political parties. And so I want to encourage people to not be afraid, to understand that the betrayals do happen, but this is not the time to curl up in the fetal position. This is not the time to disengage. This is the time to be brave and courageous and continue that battle, even though it's going to be in a new vessel, a new political movement, a new ideological movement outside of the two-party system, outside of Washington, D.C. And so that is the mission and goal of this program. We tackle the topics of the day because you need to know what is happening. And so today we are going to do some news updates. I'm going to let you guys know what's going on with legislation. We have a continuing resolution now. They are punting the border wall fight and any type of budget negotiations until February of next year. We'll update you on that. Jenny Beth Martin, who is the head of the Tea Party Patriots, I believe, who has been a staunch supporter of this president, much to my chagrin over the past 2 years. But it seems as if she's beginning to wake up. She wrote an open letter in Breitbart to President Trump about the border wall and the betrayal right now that is happening in terms of the border wall. We'll touch on that and a few other news items. But towards the middle of the program, at the bottom of the hour, I am going to begin to talk to you guys about something that I came up with a few years ago when I first began to engage in politics. And it is a way for me to engage in this really dirty, nasty political battle. And let me tell you, politics is dirty. It is not a nice business. And a couple years after starting my show, which I launched 5.5 years ago, I began to talk to myself about, well, how am I going to engage in this? How am I going to kiss my children goodnight at the end of the night? How am I going to look at myself in the mirror? How do I retain my soul, but also engage in politics? And I built something for myself that I've shared with you guys in the past, but I haven't talked about in quite some time, but I think that it's more important than ever. And those are my rules for resistance, which you guys can see on my Facebook page. I have a screenshot of my rules for resistance. And these are the rules that I look to continuously to give me the strength, the stamina, and the courage to continue on this battle. And I want to talk about those, discuss those rules with you at the bottom of the hour so that we're not always in this cycle of outrage and despair, betrayal, outrage, despair. It seems like that's the cycle that we're all in with these Republican leaders and also the conservative movement. And that's not the way it has to be. I posted out on Facebook yesterday this idea, a lot of times people want to blame someone for supporting or they feel bad or upset that they supported a politician or a political party or an entity that has betrayed them. And I want you to know that when a politician betrays you, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican or a party or an institution, if a big talker or a media figure or someone that you've trusted for analysis and for commentary for many years, if they betray you, if they betray your principles and the principles that they have always espoused, that they have always held fast to, I want you all to know that it's not your fault. It's never ever your fault if a politician lies to you and then betrays you once they get into that position of power. It's not our fault, but it is our obligation especially as activists, but also as regular Americans. It is our obligation then to remove our support and to remove our alignment with those entities who have betrayed those principles. And we need to do it loudly, and we need to do it with courage, and we need to separate from them until they move back in alignment with our principles. And this is why while I have been a strong critic of Jenny Beth Martin and the Tea Party Patriots for their support of this president and this GOP party over the past 2 years of betrayal, as long as they are coming back, when she is ready to come back into that principle-focused, community, and she is going to use her bully pulpit to call out the president, which she did in Breitbart, I'm going to applaud her courage, and then I will move back in alignment with her as she begins to reflect those principles that I value. And so that's going to be the nature of the discussion today. I want to take some of your comments and say hello. Tim Todd has joined. Again, I'm Shannon Joy. This is the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from Facebook Live, also at theshannonjoy.com, and our affiliate, WKAL 1450 Utica, Rome. Welcome to the program. I'm so glad that you're here. I want to say hello to Tim Todd, who has joined. Hi, Tim. How are you? I haven't seen you yet on the feed. I'm so glad that you're here. Go ahead and share this out, you guys. We are at 40 views right now. Let's try to get it up to 50 or 60, and I'm going to need your help to do that. So right now, if you're all watching, please share this video to your page or to one of your community pages and help us push those out. I really appreciate every one of you. Lynn. Hi, Lynn. Lynn Ike has joined. Joseph L. Smith has joined. Hi, Joseph. How are you? Christian Chamberlain says, on the first day of Christmas, the Donald took from me a bump stock from under the tree. All right, let's keep this going. The 12 days of betrayals, where it's a spoof on the 12 days of Christmas, and Christian Chamberlain just started it off. Christian, I really like that. On the first day of Christmas, the Donald took from me a bump stock from under the tree, and that's in refer to the unilateral bump stock ban. It is essentially a seizure by the federal government of firearms from law-abiding citizens. That's going to roll out next March. It was put into place yesterday, unfortunately. Thank you, Christian, for the comment. Rosalind Downer is with us. Truth always prevails eventually. Thank you, Rosalind. I agree with you. Ellen Lyon says, you're awesome. I first heard you on Steve Days. Thank you, Ellen. I joined the fellows over at at The Blaze on the Steve Days show on a regular basis. I'm usually on their program. I join their roundtable a few times a month. Last week, I was on The Blaze 3 times. We did their year-end special, and we had a lot of fun. I want to encourage you guys to subscribe to The Blaze. Steve Dace, Daniel Horowitz are 2 of the truth tellers out there right now, very good friends of mine. They've been amazing supports to me. They have been operating behind the scenes on my behalf to help me get this radio program up and running, and I am so thankful for their friendship. They are alone right now in conservative media with their contrarian views on this president and also this Republican Party, and they need support, and I want to always offer them support. Right now, Steve Dace is on vacation from his show on The Blaze, but let me tell you, he is active on Twitter, and he's also active on Facebook. I just posted out some of his tweets, and man, he is still delivering the news, and he's delivering truthful commentary right now, still engaged in the battle in these very important times when most radio hosts will go on vacation. I am here to tell you all I will be with you right up until Christmas Eve, and also the week between Christmas Eve and New Year's. I will be with you here every day, delivering the news and engaging with you in the very hard work of where do we go from here after two years of the trifecta of power. Where do we move and where do we go? Jeff Hawley says the unibrow is killing us in all of those areas you just named. Mark Thomasy has joined. Tony DeRazio is with us. Hey, Tony, I'm so glad you're here. Joshua David has joined. Hello, Joshua. Tony Urso, one of my really good friends. He is an angel as well. Tony introduced me to Steve Dace so many years ago when I filled in for Steve at Christmas time on his syndicated radio program. That was so much fun, and we owe all that to Tony Urso. Tony, thank you so much for being here. Katie Ann is with us. Tom Melville has joined. Paul Van Valkenburg, I'm so glad you're here. Livingston County Pizza in Avon, New York, my favorite pizza place and supporter of this program. Paul, thank you so much. He came on very early for 2019 as an advertiser and sponsor of my show, one of the very first. Please reward him if you are in the Livingston County area. Go and get the best pizza. He has a gluten-free bakery as well. Paul, thank you so much. Keep the likes coming, keep the hearts coming, guys, and push this broadcast out. We're close to 50. 60. We're at 47 regular, consistent viewers, and let's get that up over 50, and we can have a really valuable and successful broadcast. Rosalind says, more than ready. She's ready to resist. She's locked and loaded and advancing. And yes, that's what I want to push out to you guys. Never, never, never give up, right? Things are going to be tough. Fighting for liberty is not easy, right? Battling tyrants and in any form, whether it's a king or a monarchy or a dictatorship or even a federal government that poses as a representative republic or a democracy, right? They come in all shapes and sizes, tyrants do. And we have to be able to identify that tyranny and begin to fight it, even if it's coming from an entity or an organization that we always thought we trusted. Lynn M. Taylor is with us. Lynn, thank you very much. In addition to the stocking full of legislative coal, guys, Lynn Taylor, she is the Common Core Diva. She has a very important blog, and she's also active on Facebook. There are 3 awful pieces of legislation regarding education that are being moved quickly through Congress for signature by the president. These are massive surveillance, data grabbing bills, and I want to encourage you to follow Lynn Taylor here on Facebook and make sure that you look at these awful bills. I don't have them in front of me, but Lynn, please make sure that you post them here on the feed so that people can take a look at them. Again, it is rapid fire, breakneck speed that this legislation is being introduced, passed, a lot of times by voice vote without an actual record. This is happening with the Farm Bill. It happened now with criminal justice reform. It's happening with a continuing resolution to fund the government as usual with, unfortunately, absolutely no funding for the border wall, and there's no difference when it comes to the education bills as well. This is really just a bastardization of representative government when we can't even find out what our legislators are voting on and how they're voting. It's an abomination, to be quite frank, but no one's really talking about it. Joseph L. Smith says Trump will have a new scapegoat, and he's talking about the Trump cult, the Fed. Earlier this year, I warned them that tariffs would trigger an economic downturn. They scoffed, and now that has happened, now they want to blame the Federal Reserve that has come out. This is one of the news items that I wanted to mention today. Federal Reserve is going to continue to raise interest rates into 2019. Many of the economic analysts that I follow and trust, people like Peter Schiff, Dennis Whitman, John O'Donnell of the Online Trading Academy, also Jesse Colombo and a few others. You can find them on Twitter. They're telling the truth about the economy. They've been saying that we're moving into a bear market, we're moving into recession. You won't know that if you listen to conservative media, but that is what's happening. That doesn't mean that you should fear. It means that we should prepare. We should be ready for a potential economic downturn. We've had a lot of volatility in the stock market. Again, double and triple digit drops on certain days, and none of it's good. So we're going to keep an eye on that. I think we are going to do some economy focused programs next week. This week is a crazy week for me, guys, because I'm putting we are tying up all the loose ends that need to be tied up in order to launch this program, God willing, on the first of the year, or potentially the last day of the year. It's the first day of the broadcast year is actually December 31st. It's a Monday. DJ Katie Organic says, good afternoon, Shannon. Thank you for joining us, Katie. Lynn Taylor is with us. Jimmy B has joined. Wally Glenn is with us. Hey, Wally. Oh, no, it's Willie. I'm so glad that you're here. And he gave me 3 thumbs up. All right, we'll keep those coming, guys. Lee Newton Rhodes, still in Facebook jail. Well, I'm sorry, Facebook, they mess with these algorithms. Let me tell you, we have some of the highest views and the most shares ever. And for whatever reason, the overall views are down. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm trying to figure out those Facebook algorithms. I don't think they've jailed me yet. I think I'm free. I don't think I'm in Facebook jail, but I do know that a lot of these social media entities will try to suppress conservative voices or liberty-oriented voices. And that's why I like to do multi-platforms. That's why I like to not only broadcast on Facebook, but also YouTube, The Shannon Joy Show, and also have that terrestrial footprint with a flagship station here in Rochester, New York. So again, let me take a breath here. Someone told me yesterday that I tend to just ram through these programs and just throw an enormous amount of information at you guys at one time. And I don't want to overwhelm anyone, believe me. I know sometimes you have to slow down. I'm going to take a sip too. Talking for an hour straight is interesting. Usually in radio, I have a break or two. We can segment out. We can transition from topic to topic. And so it's a little more difficult on Facebook, but I'm kind of working with the platform. And speaking of transition, why don't we talk about first the continuing resolution? I'm just going to give you the details from roll call. This was a move criticized by Ted Cruz and Mark Meadows and a few other conservative voices. And let me tell you, on Twitter, people are freaking out about this. There is dissension in the ranks, and we're going to hit this topic in terms of the border wall and go to Jenny Beth Martin's open letter that she published in Breitbart. The distinct smell, but this is from roll call. You know, I really thought that Trump was at least going to get $5 billion for the wall. I did not think that he could come out and face his supporters and the American people and actually punt on border funding again. But he did. This is from roll call. The distinct smell of the end of Congress jet fumes are making their way through the halls of the Capitol. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is making it official. Congress plans to kick the contentious border wall spending debate down the road until February. The Kentucky Republican announced on the Senate floor that they will be pushing forth a continuing resolution. This is what Mitch McConnell had to say. Later this morning, I'll introduce a continuing resolution that will ensure continuous funding for the federal government and all of the Obama initiatives that we've been talking about now. So basically, the swamp is funded. The swamp continues. It is business as usual. He said, even in the face of a great need to secure the border and following good faith efforts by the president's team, our Democrat colleagues rejected an extremely reasonable offer yesterday. Now, that reasonable offer featured not $5 billion, not $4 billion, not $3 billion, not $2 billion, $1 measly billion to tackle. So this was the president's great negotiating skill. He went in to sit down with Chuck and Nancy and basically took the $5 billion off the table, offered them $1 billion, which of course we all know what they're going to do. They're going to reject that, which they did. It provided an additional $1 billion to tackle a variety of urgent border security priorities, and yeah, that was rejected. But Chuck Schumer and Nancy are singing like canary. They're all the way to the bank. They love this deal. The Democrats are going to support this to the tune of 100%, looks to me. Chuck Schumer said of New York, I'm sorry, he comes from New York State. We built him. I can apologize for it, but he said, I'm glad, what did he say? That while the continuing resolution is not ideal, the short-term bill would be acceptable. I'm glad the leader thinks that government should not shut down over the president's demand for a wall, says Chuck Schumer, and the Democrats will support this CR. Merry Christmas, everyone. We get the swamp for Christmas. Oh my goodness. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi of California said that House Democrats would also go along with the betrayal bill, the continuing resolution that funds 98% of the Obama era priorities, including Planned Parenthood, the DACA, deferred action executive order from President Obama. It funds all of the agencies, all of the organizations. It's just a continuation of the swamp. But Nancy Pelosi is very happy about it. She said that, they offered President Trump a clear path forward to pass 6 bipartisan appropriations bills, along with the 1-year continuing resolution for Homeland Security. But they passed on that, and it's a missed opportunity for the Republicans to pass full-year funding bills now. However, Democrats will be ready to fully, responsibly fund our government in January, and we will support this continuing resolution. So what does that tell you about the continuing resolution? It's the massive omnibus, minibus, whatever kind of bus budget monstrosity, busts up the debt, it raises the deficit with no end in sight. 100% of the Democrats are supporting this, and most of the Republicans will support it as well. President Trump, this is from Roll Call. We're just giving you the details on the spending bill that is going to move, according to, let's see, Roll Call. This is going to move now at warp speed. With senators eager to get out of Washington, D.C. for the holidays, but a number of senators could hold it up over the fact that it does not include other priorities like the Land and Water Conservation Fund. Well, we need to get that in there, guys, right? Because we got to pay off the cronies. President Donald Trump appeared to concede defeat in this round of battle over his desired $5 billion in funding for the construction wall at the U.S.-Mexico border. In our country, so much money has been poured down the drain for so many years, says Donald Trump. But when it comes to border security and the militaries, the Democrats fight to the death. Well, why won't we? Where's your bully pulpit? Where's your veto pen? Where are all the tools that you can use from the executive office, President Trump, to defeat this? Why aren't you doing that? That's the nature of Jenny Beth Martin's open letter, is basically admonishing the President of the United States to use his most powerful tool, and that is the bully pulpit. It is his Twitter feed and also the Oval Office in an address to the nation, and we're going to get into that in a minute. Interestingly, in her letter, Jenny Beth Martin failed to inform the president that he does have a veto pen as well, and he certainly can veto this budget. He has the power to do that. The question is, will he? And he won't. He doesn't want to. That's the dirty little secret, is that Donald Trump does not want a border wall. He doesn't care about a border wall. He never cared about a border wall. He used that promise in order to fire up his base to win election, knowing full well, I think, that he would really never be able to get it through. He said on Twitter, "We won on the military, which is being completely rebuilt. One way or another, we will win on the wall," which means we have lost once again. This, I think, is the 8th spending bill that has passed out of the trifecta of power, the GOP controlling the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And here we have another victory for the swamp. How do you guys feel about that? And I want to look at some of your comments. Again, I am Shannon Joy. This is The Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from Facebook, also from theshannonjoyshow.com, theshannonjoy.com, and on our affiliate, WKAL 1450 Utica, Rome. I want to welcome everyone to the program today. For those of you who are watching right now, if you enjoy the content of this program and the nature of our discussion and our topic, I want to invite you to share this out immediately with everyone and anyone you know on Facebook that you think would appreciate this message. Your Facebook groups, your liberty-oriented groups, your conservative groups. We need to continue to grow this new movement, this new liberty-focused movement, even in the face of the betrayals that we're seeing now from our unibrow leaders in Washington, D.C. Torin Archibald has joined. Hi, Torin. How are you? Jeff Hawley, Zippy, is with us. Question. Hannity talks about being a registered conservative in the Conservative Party in New York. Does that party have any legs? No. The New York State Conservative Party is a tool of the Republican Party, which is a tool of the Democrat Party. It's one of the reasons that as a New Yorker, I can identify the unibrow so clearly. It's because we've been down this path in New York for the past 2 decades. The Conservative Party in New York is a fake party. They are dissemblers, they are deceivers, they are led by, in my opinion, a corrupt group of power-hungry leaders who do the bidding of their masters in Washington, D.C. And essentially what the Conservative Party does is carry water for the Republicans. They never win anything, they never do anything, they never activate for anything. We are marching towards Marxism here in New York, and we've had 2 decades of failure, utter failure from the Conservative Party and also the Republican Party. And so I can see, it's like, New York is the canary in the coal mine. I don't know if that analogy is right, but so goes New York State and California, so goes the rest of the country. This is where they roll this crap out. So no, the Conservative Party, at least in New York, has absolutely no influence. I do like, if you are interested in starting new parties or creating new parties, I've been interested in what the Federalists are doing. I'm interested in the Constitution Party. I know that they are active and liberty-centered, they're Constitution-centered. I don't know if a new party is the answer yet, but like I said, I'm an all-of-the-above kind of girl when it comes to actively resisting tyranny and fighting for liberty. And that's going to come in all shapes and sizes. Different parties that have a foothold in different states. It might take a new second party. I align at times with the Libertarian Party when they align with me. And so, yes, I mean, we're going to have to build something. I don't know what the movement is going to turn into, but, the political parties do wield an enormous amount of power, and they're very, very difficult. I mean, we have our work cut out for us, for sure, you guys, for sure. Karen Starnes is with us, just reading about hope today in my devotional. Thank you so much, Karen. As we move through this program, we're gonna pivot into the hope portion, where I hope to encourage all of you to never give up and give you some of the tools that I think that you can use in order to engage in political activism without losing your soul. And that was the difficult learning process that I had to go through, 5.5 years ago, when I began to in earnest engage in politics. And there's a way to do it. There's a way that you can do it, and you can proclaim the truth. You can shine light on all of the swampy deviousness, and you can retain your soul. You can kiss your kids when they go to bed at night and look yourself in the mirror. It can be done. And I'm going to talk about how I do that, but while introducing you guys to my rules for resistance and commenting that on a little later in the program. So let me just say hello to some of you. Share this out. If you're joining me now, Lee Newton Rhodes is with us. Grace Tang Johnson is new. Grace, I haven't seen you on the feed yet, and I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for your clear and courageous voice in the political realm. Thank you, Grace. I appreciate your prayers and your support. You all have been such amazing supports to me. Rosalind Downer said, prepare for expenses getting much higher, learn to garden and to can, maybe a little farming, cling to your Bibles and your guns, guys, because it's gonna get rocky and we're gonna have to gird up our loins. Let's see what else we have here. Tim Barge has joined us. Hey, Tim, how are you? Ron Cable. Ron, I haven't seen you on the feed before. Welcome to the program. He says, continuing resolution is a New Year's resolution to procrastinate. And again, every single time they betray us, they say, we'll get it next time. We'll win it next time. One way or another, according to President Trump's tweet, we're going to win on the border wall. And that has resulted, I don't know what you guys think about the $3 million that has been raised. A GoFundMe started up from, I'm sure, a very well-meaning and lovely person who wants to support this president, wants to see the border wall built, and wants to rally the American people. And there is an enormous amount of support, especially among President Trump's constituents, to build that border wall. And so some of his most avid supporters are donating to this GoFundMe account to fund the border wall. And, I applaud their efforts, and I understand why they're doing it. They've raised $3 million so far. It's a drop in the bucket, and the interesting thing about rallying the American people and trying to fund this wall from a grassroots level is that it might have worked. It could potentially work. The problem is, and this is what people have to wrap their minds around. The problem is that the president doesn't want to build the border wall. The president doesn't want to build the border wall because the swamp doesn't want to build the border wall. And the president is a tool. He works for the swamp. And that's what I have concluded after observing for 4 years, 2.5 years closely of the trifecta of power, is that any rhetoric that they put out telling their supporters that they'll fight for this, they just won't. President Trump won't fight for you. Even if you raised $25 billion, even if you raised $100 billion, if you raised $300 billion, Donald Trump will not build that wall because he can't, he won't. He is a tool of the swamp. They control him, not the other way around. And that's just my analysis. You might think that I'm wrong, and I welcome criticisms, but I applaud these people's efforts. I want to encourage them to look at the man in the position of power. Look at your executive office and look at this president and ask yourself, why isn't he using the bully pulpit? Why isn't he using the veto pen? Why isn't he listening to people like Jenny Beth Martin, who wrote an op-ed? This was in Breitbart just 12 hours ago. And she started her analysis by admonishing the president and saying, you might have done a couple of good things in the past 2 years, but on your single most important campaign promise, you have failed. There is no border wall. There is no fence. In fact, there's no border security. Border crossings by illegals are at Obama-era levels currently, and you can see that reporting in detail and in depth on Conservative Review. And so she began the open letter in Breitbart, which I'll link to, admonishing the president for not fulfilling his single most important campaign promise in the first 2 years. And then she went on to say, Mr. President, you hold the most powerful office in the world, and it is your obligation as president to use all the tools at your disposal to effect the change you promised. Please begin with a prime time address from the Oval Office. We've been talking about how important the bully pulpit is and how this president has not wielded his bully pulpit in an effective manner to rally up the base and get them to light up the phones in Washington, D.C. If he told them to, they would, but he won't. She goes on, this is Jenny Beth Martin, the presidential primetime address is so valuable a tool to focus the concentration of the citizenry that has been referred to as the single greatest home court advantage in the modern world. You have used this traditional form of presidential communication only rarely during your presidency. And the fact that you've used it rarely means that speaking from the nation or to the nation from the Oval Office will enhance the sense of gravitas and ensure that you have the largest audience possible. And that's a good point. He doesn't ever use the Oval Office or the national address. And so to address the nation on this issue during the holiday season would be enormously effective. But again, to those folks who donated the $3 million to the GoFundMe and also to Jenny Beth Martin, you can beg the president to do these things. You can give him all of the tools that he needs. You can explain to him how we can accomplish this, but he won't do it. Or even if he does, he won't do it effectively. He won't take the steps to build the border wall because he doesn't want to build the border wall. She goes on to tell him, amplify your comments by sharing excerpts of the video and full text of your written remarks through your Twitter feed. 56.2 million followers of this president. She says if you could get just 1/10 of them to heed your call to contact their member of Congress and urge support for funding a border wall, the Capitol Hill switchboard would shut down. She says take the phone numbers of the millions of your supporters, send them a message urging them to contact their member of Congress, and demand they vote to fund a wall. She's giving the president all of these opportunities, all of these ways to rally his base. And sadly, I don't believe he's going to do it. That's the sad story. That's the part of this that should be so distressing for Trump's most ardent supporters. Here are people who give their time and their money in their rallies, and they show up and they wait in lines, to the tune of thousands to see this president, to support this president. They abandon in many ways their principles in order to support this president. So many millions of Americans have given their time, their treasure. They have defended President Donald Trump. And for him to spit on them, to me, and just ignore their pleas and cave again in such a blatant and obvious fashion in terms of this continuing resolution is, if I were a Trump supporter, I'd be angry. I'd be angry and I would remove my support. That's what I would do. I'm going to go and talk to a couple of you. I want to say hello to some of you who are joining the feed. If you're watching right now, please share this out. Help us to get this broadcast out to as many liberty-oriented, conservative, Constitution-loving individuals in the country. My name is Shannon Joy. I'm the host of The Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from Facebook Live while we do the hard work of moving the operation to a new terrestrial home, a new flagship station, which should happen very quickly. We're also broadcasting live, we're broadcasting live from theshannonjoy.com. If you'd like to support this program, you can donate. You can subscribe to all of my commercial-free on-demand podcasts that are housed, 400 or 500 shows are housed on theshannonjoy.com. Previous shows, a lot of them topical. You can have access to all of those and also the podcasts every day. We're going to be adding original content to theshannonjoy.com, so get those subscriptions now. A lot of you have gone in and made gift subscriptions, which I so appreciate. And I want to take a moment just to thank some of you. I talk about the fact that we are listener supported right now 100%, and your donations are just so crucial and valuable to me. And so many of you who are on right now have donated to this program to help us bridge the gap between now and our new flagship station. And so I want to name a few of you by name. Those of you who have contributed on the Shannon Joy Show, those of you who have donated. Sandra F., thank you so much for your gift subscription. We're going to get that information to you toot sweet so that you can get that gift card out. Loretta, thank you so much. Girl, thank you so much. I said yesterday that you paid my production budget, nearly all of it, yesterday with your donation, and it was something I was worried about, and so it was this little miracle. Loretta, thank you so much for that donation yesterday. Robin C., thank you so much for your generous donation. Christopher M., thank you, thank you. Tammy D., David Leach, the Strident Conservative, thank you for your subscription. I so appreciate that. David R., thank you, thank you. Christian Chamberlain, thank you. I so appreciate you. Your friendship, your prayers, and also your financial support. I really, really do. And Gingerman, I don't know, that's the name of one of the donors. It's not like a first name, but Gingerman, thank you so much. I appreciate your donation as well. And I want to make sure that I do that from time to time because I do appreciate so many of you. I'm going to read a couple of your comments and then we're going to get to rules for resistance. Tim Barge is with us. He says, Democrats are spoiled brats, but Republicans are no better. Kick them to the curb and seek Jesus. Amen, Tim Barge. That is really our only salvation, and I understand that. That's actually one of my rules for resistance in terms of resisting. You have to order your life, and for me, that order is putting God first in front of everything I do, in front of family, in front of country, in front of money, in front of job, in front of career, in front of political activism. He always needs to come first. And that's why the first rule of resistance for me is to order your life. Figure out what you put first, what comes first, and order it. And that will help you to keep on the straight and narrow and help you to remember what it is that you're fighting for, especially when we get into these heated political battles and we feel compelled to vote for the lesser of two evils or sacrifice our principles in order to support this party or this politician. We don't owe them our support. We don't owe them our support. They owe us results. They owe us honesty. They owe it to us to tell us what they're going to do and then do it. And we've allowed them to betray us too many times, both Democrats and Republicans. Jeff Hawley is with us. Hey, Jeff, how are you? Let's see what else we have here. Emily Strobel has joined. Hey, girl, she's a regular. I'm glad that you're here. Carl Burney is with us. He's a regular. Carl, I'm so glad that you're here. Tracy Q. Girl, I am not even going to try to answer or to read your last name. I am going to try. That's a challenge. All right, Tracy Q, here I go. Tracy Quattricoke. Tracy Quattricoke Berry. Tracy Quattricoke Berry joined. I don't know. I think I might have mangled your name, but I tried my best, right? You can only give it the old college try. Jason James Michael O'Byrne has joined. Hi, Jason. I haven't seen you before either. Joanna Palvino, girl, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to the program. You are such a friend, and I'm glad that you're on the show today. I appreciate it. Michael Panessa, the master of web development and owner of Blue Mongoose Web Development. He is the mastermind behind the YouTube and the website and the app. There's a Shannon Joy app. If you want to download it onto your phone, you can, and you can listen live from anywhere on the go. That's a cool feature as well. Rosalind is with us. She says, correct, the Unibrow Party will do nothing for we the people. The socialist agenda is the ongoing agenda. They are important. We are just used as a means to the end. That's a great segue, Rosalind, into the next the second half of the program and what I really wanted to talk to you guys today, and that is, what do we do, right? What do we do? Here I come to you on Facebook on a daily basis, and it just seems like it's bad news after bad news after bad news. The hits just keep on coming. The Farm Bill, criminal justice, jailbreak. We have, debt and deficit, funding, Planned Parenthood being funding, no border wall. It's just bad news. It's bad news. And I want to talk about the good news. I want to talk about number one, admitting the bad news and accepting that is the first step in preparing yourself for the new movement, the new liberty movement that we need to build, all of us here together from the ground up. And that has to do with, rules for resistance. So what do? Both parties are the same. They are the unibrow. I was happy to see that Steve Dace actually mentioned them in a tweet. And man, he's getting feisty, but he said, the Republicans are not scared of the media. The Republicans agree with the media more than us and desire their approval more than ours. We need to face the truth. This is from Steve Dace on Twitter yesterday. We have no allied platform in Washington to act on what we believe. There are not two parties. There's a unibrow. And that was from Steve Dace yesterday. And I was thrilled that he is using his platform and his voice now to proclaim the truth. So what do? People want to activate. A lot of you who are watching today aren't activists. You're just regular folks. Maybe you don't feel prepared to get out there into the political realm and run for office or join a group. And quite frankly, what the heck group are you going to join at this point, right? Are you going to join the Republican Party? Why would you do that? Are you going to start supporting Trump? Why would you do that? We get the same thing regardless of who we support. The conservative movement and conservative talkers, so many of them have fallen away. The evangelicals, led by people like Franklin Graham and Pat Robertson and Jeffries. I mean, these entities, you can't trust them any longer, right, to tell you the truth. These pro-life organizations, you can't trust them. So what do? How do you activate? And I think the first step really is to, number one, admit the problem. And number two, begin to understand that your activism now is going to have to come from the outside in. It's going to have to come from the bottom up. Top down, bottom up, inside out resistance is a concept that we introduced on my program many, many years ago. And the idea was that the attack from progressives is coming from every institution. It's coming from your education institutions, media institutions, Hollywood, Washington, D.C., the unibrow, the swamp, all of these outside institutions from the top down using federal legislation are attacking your liberty and your Constitution on a daily basis. But they're also attacking us from the bottom up, right? They can't achieve their goals without support or compliance from state governments and also local governments who are really at a disadvantage because they need the federal funding because the federal government has made it so difficult for them to survive. And so in exchange for all these big bloated government programs, you have Republican governors, Republican legislatures, local governments who are taking the largesse from the government in forms of grants, subsidies, tax breaks, whatever, and they're implementing these awful anti-constitution federal policies from the bottom up. So we can't just focus on Ted Cruz. We can't just focus on national entities. We have to also focus on our local leaders. And what are they doing? Are they taking the grant money? Are they signing on to the grant money? What can they do to resist? Can our local leadership, local sheriffs, town supervisors, boards, zoning boards, school boards, can you peacefully non-comply? If we had enough liberty-oriented members of school boards across the country, and if you had 100 districts, or maybe 50, maybe 12 large school districts simply reject Common Core as unconstitutional and go about their business by rejecting the federal grant money, it would change the entire debate on education. It would rock the political establishment. It would rock the world if you had peaceful non-compliance coming from elected local officials who have their fingers on the pulse of the community. So it has to happen bottom up, also top down, but also inside out. That's the beginning. The beginning of resistance is inside out. We have to change. We have to stop worshiping political idols on the left or on the right, and we have to begin to gird up our loins and develop the courage. We need to understand we are individuals. We are in charge of our own lives. We are the citizens. We control our own destiny. We should keep the fruits of our labors. We should decide how our children are educated. We should decide what is going to happen on social services at a local level. That's what we can do. And so in order to fight for that, you have to change from the inside out. You have to reject those parties. And the next step for me was, really looking at the rules for resistance and figuring out, what are the rules? What do you do? And so my rules for resistance, I just have a printout right here. You probably can't see it, but here's my printout. This is also on my Facebook page, so you guys can pull it up. I'd love to see your comments on it. But the number one rule for resistance, if you're going to engage in politics and retain your soul, is to order your life. Again, for me, the order in my life is God first. God first. Then the devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy, then my precious little cherubs, my children. That is the order, 1, 2, 3. Then my community, my local community, my family and my friends, the people that I can affect with my own actions and in my own words. Then it is my job, my career, and on down the line. But first and foremost, God comes first. And I have to remember, in every piece of legislation, in every organization, in every politician that you're aligning with or you're supporting, does this line up with your faith beliefs? If it doesn't line up with your faith beliefs, then walk away. Don't be afraid to walk away. God is more powerful than them. Put him first. And if more of us begin to put him first and follow his path, I tell you and I promise you, miracles will begin to happen. Number 2, love your enemy. Love your enemy. Christ told us this, and it is true in life, it is true in relationships, and it is true in politics. And it has to be real. You can't pretend to love your enemy, and you can't be snarky and snappy about it. You have to truly, truly love your enemy. Pray for your enemy. Don't engage in the belittling conversation, the name calling. It's something that I committed to myself when I launched my program 5 years ago, that I was not going to be mean girl radio. I was never going to call names. I was never ever going to wish ill will on any of my political opponents. And I mean it. I want them to come around. I know I have to battle them. We know we have to call them out. We have to hold them accountable. We have to battle them on the political battlefield and counter their arguments and do everything in our power to defeat them. But we also have to love them. We have to soften our rhetoric and save it. Save it for when it's really important, because it's so much more effective. If you're constantly screaming at this person and screaming at that person, and you're engaging in these battles and you're calling them names, then you lose the effectiveness of your argument, right? Those ad hominem attacks, they dilute your message and they distract from the really important points that we have to make. And so remember, at Christmas this year, when you're sitting at the Christmas table and you're engaging with your family, and maybe there are raving lunatics in your family, maybe you just can't get out of Christmas Day with getting into a knockdown, drag out with Uncle Lou over politics. I've been there before. Just remember that you love them first. That was commanded by Christ. And if we are Christians and we're going to engage, we have to absolutely love our enemies first. Number 1, order your life. Number 2, love your enemy. These are the rules for resistance. This is how I engage in politics and maintain my soul. And I've been able to do that so far. And you guys can too. Number 3, tell the truth. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. This is so difficult in politics. It is so difficult in politics because you see politicians, and what is the difference between the absolute truth and talking points or fudging? For me, I cling to the truth, and I condition myself, or I've tried to condition myself, and I'm not perfect, guys, believe me. These are my rules for resistance, but I break them. I am not perfect. I'm not setting myself up as a perfect messenger here. I am as flawed as all of you. I'm as sinful as the last sinner, but these are the things that I just keep in front of me. But When you tell the truth, you never have to backtrack. You never have to get caught. You never have to think about, well, who did I tell this and who did I tell that? I know a lot of people in politics engage in secret meetings and secret coalitions, and they have, you know, and they operate in the shadows, and we should never operate in the shadows. We should never, ever, there's never anything that we should say or anything so important that we should have to lie about it. And if the truth is something that hurts, if the truth breaks something, if the truth results in a Democrat being elected or a liberal being elected, well, then that's okay. God's in control. He wants us to tell the truth. That's a 10 commandment. That's one of those 10 commandments. Tell the truth in politics. Do it. And the second you stop telling the truth, or the second a politician stops telling you the truth, or a pundit or a media figure, move away from them. Be courageous enough to move away from them. Number 4, this is so important. Never worry, do not fear. Never worry. Another commandment, this came from Christ. The Bible is riddled with scripture. As humans, we just naturally fall into fear. And I do myself. It's such a natural condition to see the bigness of the problem, to see the globalists. And when you see George Soros aligning with the Kochs, aligning with the Republicans, aligning with the Democrats, and all of them are coming together, and they have billions of dollars, thousands and thousands of hours to activate and to thwart our efforts, it begins to feel so big that you get scared. And I went through this. I was very fearful for a few years when I began to realize the truth, when I began to do research for myself. I ripped myself out of the Republican mindset and just set out to find the truth. And let me tell you, I became very fearful for a time. And at one point in my career, I said, you know what? I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm not going to be afraid of anything, of, you know, the swamp, you know, these big agendas, the dark government forces, and they're out there, believe me. I will never fear them again. And this is something that I have to tell myself continually. Again, you know, these thoughts always creep back in. Never worry, do not fear. And then the last one that we're going to address today in my rules for resistance is number 5. Because we are running up against the end of the hour, we'll start tomorrow's hour with the last 6 of my rules for resistance, but you can look at them yourself and comment on them today. I'll post them on my Facebook page. But number 5, and this is a mantra of mine. You'll hear it coming from me over and over. It's that important of a concept, and that is to embrace principle. Never people, never parties, never institutions. If you root yourself around principles of honesty, charity, loyalty, courage, all of these things, and our constitutional principles, right? That Constitution was divine. Our Bill of Rights was divinely inspired, right? You can cling to that. You can stand with that Constitution, with those principles laid out in the Declaration of Independence and in the Bill of Rights, and you stick to that. And anyone, any politician, any party, any person, any institution that you've been aligned with, when they move away from those principles, you move away from them. That takes courage, right? If we move away from the Republicans or the conservatives, well, then the Democrats are going to win, and that's scary. I know that's scary, but I fear God more than I fear the Democrats, more than I fear Hillary Clinton. And I know that God is not happy with the millions of abortions that are paid for by taxpayers in this country at the hands of the GOP. I know that a tyrannical federal government that extinguishes the light in every American, denying them their rightful gifts from God, that is not God ordained. That is not from the Lord. Our current government is not from our God. And so we have to resist this government. And sadly, this government is made up of mostly Republicans, at least for right now. And so that means by default, we have to oppose those Republicans and oppose those organizations and media entities that support this government. That's the program, folks. That is Rules for Resistance. First half, 1 through 5, we hit today on the radio program. I want to thank all of you for joining me today. I'm getting my feet underneath me. This is, you know, it's kind of weird, putting a radio program on Facebook Live and then feeding it out through terrestrial radio, which is what I'm trying to do. So I try to break it up a little bit so that we can, break it down into segments. And so just bear with me. We're going to have our bearings. I am confident that in about 15 days, you are going to see this Facebook Live, this broadcast, and it's going to be from a studio, and we are going to rejoice in the miracles of the Lord. I am confident of that. And I know that if this is willed by God, it will happen. If it doesn't, it won't. I'm okay with that. I want you guys to be okay with it too. So thank you for joining me today. You guys are the best. Continue to support. Please share this out with everyone and anyone you know. Also, if you feel moved, please make a donation on theshannonjoy.com to support us right now. We are 100% listener supported, and we need those donations. I need those donations in order to bridge the gap right now between, I'm in between stations. So you all are wonderful. Thank you so much for watching. Those of you who are on the theshannonjoy.com, thank you for all of your support. And for those of you listening on WKAL 1450 AM in Utica, thank you. We will come back tomorrow. We will do it all again on The Shannon Joy Show.